Hi everybody, Alex Deploy here from Expert Forex, and in this video we're going to look at the most recent upgrade to the Liberty Trading robot. So we launched the RSI Liberator and the Wave Liberator approximately 7 weeks ago, and this is a major upgrade to the Liberator range, and I'll go through all the items that have been changed. But in the meantime, the Liberty range has produced the most phenomenal results, and as you can see here, there are accounts that have doubled, that have 90% returns, 80% returns, 40% returns. So the Liberty range has done very well. You can see those are all the Liberty range ones. There's 1 year with a success rate of almost 90%. So really very happy with how the Liberty range is going, and let's go and have a look at the changes. Firstly, you would log into the EA Factory website and you would go to the Wave Liberator page, and it is now version 2, so it's a major upgrade that's happened. And if you want to, you can download the user guide, but you can also download the EA. And there's also assistance to show you how to upgrade the EA once you've downloaded it. And also there are change logs that explain the changes since the previous version. So there's a lot of information supplied by EA Factory. So if you click on the changes log, you will see this information, and these are the changes that were made. Firstly, gap scaling has been introduced, and I'll go through that with you in more detail. Also, there's a small change in the wording of some of the settings, like instead of market we are now using pairs, which is more understandable. And there's now a great feature where you can reduce your exposure to certain currencies by limiting the number of times that those currencies can be traded. Now this is very important, and I'll go through that one also. There's a small technical adjustment where if your broker has a gap between their symbols, you can now add that gap to your Wave Forex Liberator by using quotes. It's a little technical one. And then a major change too is it's reduced the number of stop loss and take profit adjustments for open trades over time. So again, I'll discuss that in a little bit more detail. But that is where you find the changes. If you want to see what the previous changes were, you'll see them in that change log. So let's look at the changes in detail, and let's have a look at the gap scaling one. So for instance, let's say you start your gap scaling at 25. Now there are two ways you can do it. You can either increase your gap scaling, that reduces risk, or you can decrease your gap scaling, which actually gives you better chance of cashing in on your open trades. So they're the two strategies you can follow. So the setting now says, all right, put in your starting gap size. Then when do you want the scaling to happen? So if you put a 1 in, when the price reaches the second level, if you put a 1 in there, it will already either increase or decrease depending on your settings below. So it allows you to not start straight away, but leave a little gap before you start. And most people would start with 1. Then the EA is now asking for a scaling rate. So if you want to increase that 25, let's say by 20%, you would put a setting of 120%, and every time it hits the gap level, it will increase it by 20%. If you want to decrease it, for instance, you would then put in 80, and it will reduce the gap size to 80% every time it comes to a gap adjustment level. And then it then says what is the minimum gap size that you want, and you can then put in a figure that you want. Generally I would put in 10 pips into that particular setting. So that gives a lot more flexibility around the management of gaps. It helps you manage risk, and also it helps you get faster cash-ins. So that was the gap scaling one. Then the second one was a very small change. All that was changed is previously the word market was used, and the word pair was found to be much more meaningful and understandable. So the word pair refers to a currency cross. So that's a small change. Then the maximum currency exposure. Now that's quite a big one. And to give you an example here is, let's say you're trading and you say, all right, I'm happy to trade 3 pairs, and the first pair that opens is the Euro USD. The second pair that opens is the Australian USD, and then the third one is, for instance, the pound USD. So what has happened there is you are now trading the USD 3 times. So you're overexposed to the USD. If the USD trends tremendously in one way or the other, you're either going to get be very rich or you're going to get very poor. So to reduce your risk, you give an instruction to the EA to say, I don't want to trade any particular currency more than once. So when you open your Euro USD in future and a signal comes up to open the Australian USD, it will not trade that because it says, oh, the USD has already been traded. So that's quite a big change. It helps really control risk tremendously, and quite happy about that change. Then that other change, and it's again a technical one. Normally you would enter your currencies like that: currency with a gap, currency with a gap, currency with a gap. But what fooled us was that some brokers actually had gaps in their currency description. So they would have USD franc gap FX, for instance, or pound USD gap. So that really messed this entry up. So in order to correct that, those particular brokers, when you use them, you can use double quotes. So in other words, you would put the currency with a gap in double quotes. So that's the way the robot will read that currency. It's just a technical thing. I think it only affects about 2% of our clients that use those particular brokers. And then the last change, which is also a very important one, is that let's say you have a buy entry that you've started up there, you've entered another buy entry up there, you've entered another buy entry up there. The EA will calculate your target, and your target will be moving down and down with in the direction of the price movement all the time, and when the price starts reversing, target stays where it is, and hopefully it gets hit. So it's like a trailing stop. It's just a trailing target, and that's essentially how the EA works. But the problem was that the target got updated too often. But let's say it got updated every tick. So as that price goes down, the target gets updated, and the message gets sent to the broker, and the broker then updates the target. And then every single tick that the target gets updated, a message gets sent to the broker. So some of the brokers wrote in and said, no, there's too much activity on this account. We don't like it. And therefore we've made quite an adjustment to the how often the target gets updated, and that has reduced the level of activity on the broker account considerably, and we now have happy brokers when our clients are using this particular EA. So that covers the changes that were made to this version of the EA, and that is why it now has a version 2, because these changes are regarded as major. Now there's various ways we remind traders of this upgrade. For instance, this video itself is a reminder. There will be emails that tell you about this video, and that will remind you of the upgrade. And you will have pop-ups as you open your trading stations and have a look at the EA. There will be a pop-up that occurs and says, by the way, there's been an upgrade to this particular EA. And then what you do is you use the information as I've shown you earlier to upgrade your EA. Very simple. You just load it down and then load it into all your platforms as you would when you initially load it down, and it will automatically upgrade, and it will automatically take all the current trades over and manage them, so you don't have to worry about that. Now I hope you found this video informative. And if you're not already a owner of any of these EAs, there will be clickable links in the first comment of the video as well as in the description of the video. Also, just a reminder that all upgrades to our EAs are free, so you don't have to pay anything more to have an upgrade done on your EA. So from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.